Are you a professional in the music industry and frustrated with all the legal issues that you must deal with all the time? Well, let us help you. At the Fine Law Firm, we've helped people just like you, entertainers, weave their way through the legal issues that you face. Eric Fine has over 10 years of experience working with entertainers just like you. From copyrights to royalty agreements, to venue agreements, anything that's involved with your business, Eric Fine can help you. You can easily reach Eric at 214-522-9596 or find us on the internet at ericfinelaw.net. That's fine, F-E-I-N law.net. Eric Fine, ready to help you with anything you may face. Get out there and do your music thing and leave the legal issues to us. Eric Fine Law, 214-522-9596. Call us today, Eric Fine Law. Hey everybody, it's the Trout and welcome to the Trout Show. Thanks for joining us today for this episode where I go all the way over to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to interview a wonderful singer-songwriter, Lyia Meta. I got to know her from an acquaintance of mine here in Texas. Yeah, it is a small world, isn't it? He told me about her and I said, I get to talk to her and I listened to her music and I agreed with him 100%. She's a great singer-songwriter. But it's a little bit different than what I usually put on here. She's more, on this album, she just released a brand new album called Always You. And it's more like in the Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett type style of music that's really smooth jazz pop. But I still think it's really nice to listen to, and I think you'll agree. She worked with a gal out of a songwriter out of L.A. called Denise Dimon, and they worked together and collaborated. That's what's so great about the world of music now. You can collaborate with people all over the world to do what you need to do to get some great music out to the public. And she brought this album out. But what's really interesting about Lyia is she's really a hard rock, heavy metal enthusiast. And her next album, she promised, is going to be something like that. So sit back and enjoy this episode with Lyia Meta out of Kuala Lumpur. Hope you enjoy it. So up next, Lyia Meta doing some crooning jazz pop songs that'll smooth out your day. That's next on The Trout Show.
1 and 1 is always 2. It's very simple. It's always you. Sometimes my eyes may wander, my gaze may stray and linger longer, but always what I really want to see is your loving eyes looking back at me.
Did you start as a kid, a child, singing, or how did that all start out?
I come from a family where we are all artistically inclined. So my dad was a stage performer. He's a bluesman, so he used to do improv stuff on stage. He used to perform with a band when he was growing up. When he was younger, he had his own band, and we used to have musicians coming in and out of our home a lot. Mm-hmm. So music for me was like, it was like just like an everyday thing, you know. Right. And he was also an artist, so he used to paint folkloric art, which is a lot of local scenes from where I grew up. So that'd be like paddy fields, the water buffalo, you know, people plowing the fields, that kind of stuff. Right. So it was very interesting. And I myself am a visual artist and a performer. So I think it's just something I just grew up with, so I take it for granted. People think it's like wonderful, but it's just something that I grew up with. So I don't really appreciate it until people say, oh, wow. Then I say, oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
You know, I've talked to people on here that their parents had become famous or they knew a lot of famous people. And it just becomes part of your life. So if you see
Yeah.
somebody famous, it's like, hey, look at so and so, and you're like, yeah, I've seen him before. It's no big deal.
Yes.
But they
Correct.
don't. And if you, it's like anything else, if you're surrounded with that all the time, I mean, when I interview well-known celebrities or songwriters or whatever, sometimes I ask them, do your kids still pay any attention to you? Do they actually want to go see you? And they go, nah, they're kind of
Uh-uh.
bored with it. Kind of
Yeah.
bored with it.
Yeah.
And even with me playing around here in the Dallas area, my wife, she goes, why do I need to come hear you? I've seen you. I mean, and I understand that, but I understand it because it's like, what am I going to do different? It's like a set or whatever. So you started out, but your dad was a blues guy, you said. And so
Yeah.
what did he play? Did he perform guitar, piano, or what did he have an instrument or
No,
just was a singer?
he was the front guy. He was the one right in front.
Okay.
Very good performer, engaged with the crowd. And it's all, he was really fun to be. He was like, everybody would love him
So
on and
you
off the stage.
so you probably learned a lot of performance details from watching him perform, I imagine.
I would say my performance, live performance, and his differ a lot because I am more, I've got a lot more energy on stage than ever did. He's more like he would stand in front of the mic and be able to speak to people and engage the crowd. That's a talent I don't have. I don't think I have that. I can't do that. But my performances are more energetic as compared to his.
I always think being a singer like yourself is more difficult because you don't have anything to hide behind. I mean, you got a microphone. I mean, you see my guitars. That's what I hide behind. So I'm a lead guitar
Okay.
player, so I can.
Yeah.
There's always something between me and the audience, so to speak.
I know it is. Yeah.
But when you're standing up there holding a wireless microphone, it's just you. And
Yeah.
I admire people that do that because it's more. I think it's more difficult because I can throw back and throw some guitar work on it to make people go, oh, or But with your music though, so you were kind of exposed to different music.
Mhm.
But when I listen to your music, it's kind of how it's like the last stuff you did. And that's what surprised me because I was thinking that when I know about Texas sounds, I figured you were going to come out and start singing with kind of a nasal country tone,
Okay. Okay.
but you don't. And when you sing, and I know you're contra, alto, or whatever I saw, somebody actually named you because your voice is very low, as you well know. But
Yeah.
you have that ability to take. I'm old enough to know when you're singing, it takes me back a few decades to when I was a kid listening to the performers back then, especially in the 60s. And that kind of jazzy, kind of lilting kind of voice that you have and what you sing is not country.
It's not
So
country.
no. And so that kind of surprised me because I've got other people lined up that are, I'm visiting with a lady probably next week or two. She she's from Canada too, but when she sings, she's like, "Hey, don't you want me?" She's got the country
The
song.
country. Okay.
So, who influences you? Who influenced you as a younger performer? But now, who influences you as far as who you really like listening to? I mean, who do you go? Well, let me like ask you this question: who would you love to meet as another singer? If you had a
Uh,
chance to meet anybody, who would you like to meet?
I know it would come as a real surprise, but I really never thought about that.
Oh,
I've been
really?
asked
Okay.
that, and I've been asked this question. I mean, I'm sure you know this question would be a question anybody would ask, but I've never really thought about it. I would like to work with people like Clapton. My heroes are more. I grew up with a good dose of rock and blues, so I like Black Sabbath. I like um, Jimi Hendrix. I like The Who. I like Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I like that kind of stuff. But like a vocalist that I would like to meet today. No, I have not thought about it, but I appreciate a lot of good vocalists out there.
Yeah.
I really listen to them and I tell myself, wow, she's got good control, or she's got a nice tone. I like the tone, because I always look for someone as a vocalist, I zero in on the vocals the second the song
Oh,
starts.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
But I've not thought about who I would like to meet because of how they sing. I don't listen to very many singers because I try not to get too much in my head.
Yeah.
Even though I sing cover songs, I sing a lot of cover songs, but I try not to get too much in my head because I think it spoils my creative process when I finally
Hmm.
get to it.
So how long have you been doing what you're doing now?
Uh, Maybe about 12 years.
Okay.
Okay. But I stopped a lot in between. I took a lot of breaks because I've always been a person who's been under the radar. I tried not to saturate the market with she's performing here, she's performing there kind of stuff. So I've taken a lot of breaks so that I can pursue other stuff. I'm also an artist, that kind of stuff. So also, I think I took breaks so that I wouldn't get too drawn in that life
Hmm.
till I wouldn't know. I needed to, I'm always very, very, very aware of the fact that I want to be grounded despite everything. Family first, all these sort of things. And those things are really important to me. So I had to put a lot of things on hold because of that.
Yeah,
Family
I
first.
sure. And I understand that because it's a difficult business if you tour all the time
Yeah.
and you're not home very much unless you have your family going with you, but it's still not it's not the same. And I admire and also couldn't do it. That's why I didn't do it when I was younger. I said I'm not going to get in a bus with four other people or whatever and
Yeah.
run away and be on the road for night after night. It's yeah, you might make a lot of money, but you know, it's that life they can't stop.
It
And
was also it's also difficult to step back
oh
once you
yeah.
are in it. So when you are in it, so that's when a lot of things it unravels and everything becomes, topsy-turvy. In my case, I put a lot of things on hold because I homeschooled my son.
Mm,
So I had to be, and he used to travel with us all the time. So, but I stopped that. We used to do residencies across the peninsula of Malaysia. So we
okay.
will be staying in hotels for 9 months on
Oh
end.
wow.
Then we will
Yeah.
finish that, and then we will go on to another place and another place. So those things I had to take a break from. It was important to do that.
Oh, I your family's always important to you.
Yeah.
So when people ask you about what type of music you do, what do you tell them?
I've always been rock and blues at heart. That's where my influences have always been. And if I were to perform, if I were to write something, it usually will be rock with a little bit of blues because that's what my influences are. Okay, but I found that as a songwriter, being able to express myself, I love doing different genres. I love doing different genres. I don't
Hmm.
limit myself because they tell you if you're in the industry, especially if you're looking for a recording contract or if you're looking to be picked up, for a deal, they'll tell you to pick a lane. You
Yep.
have to pick a lane because it's easier for them to market you. It's not because of you, it's because of them. They
Them.
need to
Oh yeah.
market you. It makes it
Absolutely.
easier for them. So why do I need to limit myself? If I can express myself using different genres, why should I not do that? So that is why I do a lot of genres. I like to experiment and I like to express myself differently.
So when you write a song, are you you sit down at a piano or a keyboard, or you just kind of think of a melody and sing into your phone? How do you go through the
Okay.
process?
Okay. Um, I don't really have a process. I play the guitar, but barely enough to save my life. But I
I like
cannot
that
save
one.
my life. I because my partner is a guitarist. I'm even more self-conscious about the fact when I pick up the guitar, I know I'm going to do crap. So what I do is I will learn. I know a couple of chords. Then I'll get the chords down. I'll sing the melody and I'll pass it on to him. And then he will go and say, "Well, this is not a B flat, whatever nonsense." And then we'll go through the song again. But over the years, I found another way that appeals to me. I have melodies running in my head all the time.
Mm,
It's so intrusive that I need to upload every time. So what I do is I sing those melodies into my phone, because
mm.
the magic of having your phone with you all the time, you can upload all this stuff. So when I was in India recently, I was just talking to this musician. I usually don't do that, but I don't know what made me do that. He was very excited about a new song he had just written. I mean, a new song he had written. He hadn't put the melody to it yet, but he had the lyrics down. So I said, "Well, let me see it." So he showed it to me, and I just sang out the song to him. And he said, "Can we, can I record it?" I said, "No, I don't remember it already. I'm sorry, I don't remember it." But that's usually my process. So the lyrics and the melody doesn't have to come. Which one doesn't have to come the first? It can be either way.
Yeah, I just it's a weird process. And
Yeah, it's a weird
I never,
process.
I only ask you how you do it because there's no way of telling people how it all comes about.
That's
So
right.
it's interesting to me how people you sit down and play the piano or, whatever. Because it's like, well, how do you write a song? I don't know. It's just, like you
It
said,
just
you got
happens.
stuff in your head and you just say, okay, I like
Yeah,
that. And hopefully somebody else
yeah.
will too. All right. So you've been performing for quite some time.
Okay.
And your music, you had worked with another artist out of LA, was that correct? That she wrote some music for you or something like that?
Yes, this current album that I've just released, which is the jazz pop album, she wrote all the 8 songs. Now, I'm really comfortable working with Denise Demid. She's not an artist, she's a songwriter. Um, I really am comfortable working with her because she gives me 100% control about what I want to do with the songs.
Right.
Okay, she's got the words and she's got the music. But if you listen to the original and you listen to what I've done to it, it's really very far away from each other. So the reason why I still work with her, because this is the second album. The first one was considered like a success because it was my first foray into um,
Hmm.
jazzy sort of stuff, because
Right.
I will never claim to do jazz. The jazz musicians will slaughter me because I know jazz is a very it's a very
Mm.
deep form of music. So yeah, so that is Denise songs, all those songs, those 8 songs.
So how
My
did you get,
songs,
oh,
say again.
go ahead. Go ahead.
My songs, if I write my songs, it's more in the rock and the metal stuff.
So how did you meet the lady that you were just visiting, that wrote all the songs for this current album?
She and I were part of this kind of group or a platform where women of substance, it's called Women of Substance,
Hmm.
where a lot of female writers and musicians, they get together to kind of lift each other up. So she liked the stuff that I was doing because I had just put out my debut album at the time and 1 or 2 singles. And I think she approached me and asked me whether I would like to uh, collaborate and do something with her work. But at that time, I was performing full time. And what little time I had, I wanted to do my work in the studio because my vocal tired out very easily after singing 6 days a week, and
Mm.
then on the seventh day I'll record for,
Hmm.
so I didn't do that. And during the pandemic, she approached me one more time, and we were all stuck at home.
It's true.
So I said, let's give it a go. But can I have permission to do whatever I want to do to the song that you have given me? She said, go right ahead. I give you license to do whatever you want to do. Even I will turn it around. And so I met a producer, Bob McGilpin, in Nashville, Tennessee, and he understood the trajectory, the what I wanted to do with the song. He's pretty intuitive, so he helped me. Together we brought that album out, and on this new album he's also on board because he totally understands and he gets me, like, and my thought process of like, okay, let's do something in this vein and see whether it'll work out, and then we'll go back and forth. And he's really very, very intuitive and very brilliant because he also knows.
So did you record this out? Where did you record the album at?
The album was recorded in Rio de Janeiro, Nashville, Tennessee, and Malaysia. I know, isn't that crazy? I
was just following you around and I go, okay, she's been to Jefferson, Texas. She's been to Nashville. Oh, she just did an interview in New Zealand. She's performing in India. And now you're not Rio de Janeiro. And I'm like, but you know what? That's the way the world is. And why did you go to Rio?
Oh, no, I didn't go to Rio. That one, we did it remotely. We didn't
you did everything remotely. Okay. But this is the same thing. Yeah.
But I went to, it's the same thing. I went to Nashville and met my producer because I was in Texas. So I took a flight to Nashville, and we met him there. Rio, because the guy is actually from Nashville, but he relocated to Rio because his wife's mother, I think, is not well, and they needed the weather there. It's better climate, I think.
Right.
And so he did the orchestration for the song.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob McGilpin in Nashville did the guitars, the arrangements, and stuff like that.
But you also took a track, which is interesting to me. This is why I appreciate what you do and admire you. And that is, you just basically said, this is what I do. If you don't like it, I don't care. I mean, I do care, but you know what I mean? Because you put a jazz blues album out, or, and you'd rather do this, but you love doing it. I mean, and so, you give your heart and soul to it, but I always look at things like this. If I put a music out and I have 10 songs on it or whatever, if people like one, I'm happy. If they like two, I'm ecstatic. I'm not John, Paul, George, and Ringo. I don't expect them to listen to the whole thing. I mean, it would be great if they go, I loved the whole thing. I mean, that's when I grew up with the Beatles, it was like they brought an album, everybody goes, oh my God, every song's great, So I admire that in you, that the fact that you just said, I'm going to do this, but you also have to do some things to pay the bills. So that's why you said you did residency. But the other thing too that was intriguing to me was the fact that because I'm so used to talking to people in the States and Europe.
Yeah.
That's where people tour. Here, they go to Europe to tour. When you start talking about touring, you go to India or you go to Australia. And it's because it's a different part of the world.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
India. I first went to India last year. I was performing for the Independent Indie Music Festival. And this was the first of its kind. And it was such a hit because they held it in this small place called Kovalam. So it was like, it's not something that you won't see in the bigger cities like Mumbai and Delhi and stuff like that. But it was a hit. But on a personal level, I found the audience to be extremely welcoming. They were just ready to hear your work, which is not something I get here. It don't sound like, I mean, no insult, man, but if you don't sound like what you hear on the radio, you don't sound like Ed Sheeran, you don't sound like Adele, you don't sound like Taylor Swift, you don't sound like any of these singers, they're not going to want to entertain you for too long. So I've got a very unusual tone to my voice. It doesn't It's not something that resonates with the masses. But I thought it was always me until I went to India and discovered that it wasn't me, because they were ready to, like, okay, this is like something we want to hear more of. Then you get all these messages in your Instagram inbox. When are you coming back to India? You know? And so that's what, I mean, it's very sad that you don't find it here. But like I say, we don't get to choose.
No, and that's the old saying, you're never a prophet in your own land.
I know I heard
Uh,
that.
but that had to be very rewarding for you to perform and people love what you do because you're going, you,
Yes.
you want people, in your own country to love you. It's like me. I want people in Dallas to love me or whatever love me. But it's harder to get people like me here. It's the same with rock artists that I talk to that are going to tour to Europe. They're more acceptable in Europe than they are in America. And it's because I think Americans are so inundated with music. So when did
Texas
that all come?
sounds,
Yeah, how did that
Texas sounds, Preston found me. Preston found me. I'd also emailed him my music, and he was ecstatic, and he wanted me to come to Texas to perform. And I tried raising funds for that, but it didn't work out. So we tried until the last minute, until the very last minute, because it was also during the lockdown. It wasn't very easy to get permission to travel. I had
Oh
to get a
yeah.
lot of permission to travel. So um, it finally didn't work out, and some people over here, my team over here, they got together and we set up recorded a live performance of mine.
Hmm.
It
Well,
was
I've
a really
watched it.
good
I've watched
setup.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good setup. So we got great sound. Studio engineers did stuff to make it all right. And we sent that in and I won. Then he says, you got to come for 2022. Then I told myself, I am going to make it no matter what. And so I did the same route. I tried the same route. It didn't work out. And so I put my paintings up for sale. And I said, I'm going to go to Texas this year to perform at the Texas Sounds International Country Music Awards. And if you guys want to see me go there, please buy my paintings so that I can buy my flight ticket.
Yeah, because it's not cheap. It's not cheap coming here. I
Ah,
know
it's
that.
not cheap. It's
But the
very
international travel
expensive.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just that, it's also everything else, you know. So what I did was I sold paintings. I had a lot of supporters, people who helped buy my internal flights from Los Angeles to Texas and Texas to Nashville. And that guy's an American guy, actually. He's a pilot. He's a fantastic guy. He bought me those tickets.
Hmm.
And yeah, it all went very smoothly. And I had a huge supporter here in Malaysia who bought so many paintings, enough for me to buy my tickets, everything. So it really worked out. And I went and performed live at Texas Sounds. And I finally got to meet Tex. Even Preston bought a painting of mine. He bought one painting for his wife. You know, and his was the first painting I sold
Are
because
you?
he really wanted me to come. Yeah.
Well, I think when you're a good performer, people want to meet you. They want you to come, and it's not about me listening. It's about everybody else that listens. You want to share what you found or discover. I assume
Yeah.
the paintings behind you are you that is that your work on the
Yes, yes,
wall?
yes, yes. They're all my work. Yes.
Yeah, I figured
Everything
it's
is mine. All mine. Can you see?
yeah, looks great.
Yeah.
So, are you
I'm,
coming? Are you coming this year? Are
no,
you
I'm
gonna be
not
on?
coming this year.
Not coming this year. Okay.
Not this year. Um, Preston wants me to come again, but like I said,
Well,
I
it's
have to break
tough.
the.
I mean,
Yeah, it's tough.
and you can't, it's thousands of dollars to fly, and then you got to get here, and then of course getting to where they are. For people listening to this, it's Jefferson, Texas, which is about 150 miles, I think it is, or 100 miles away from more than that, probably 150, 200 miles away from Dallas, in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah,
really, kind of.
yeah,
So you don't can't fly into there. You can't. So you have to go someplace and drive the rest of the way.
yeah. You got to go to Shreveport. From Shreveport, you take
Oh,
a 45-minute drive
yeah,
back
that
to
is. Yeah, that's
Jefferson.
right. They're close to Shreveport. That's right.
Yeah.
So and so then you came last year. Um, when did so you're talking about the album that's out now. When was that released?
June 16th.
Okay, so that's real new.
That's new. Yeah.
Okay, and how long did it take you to finish that from the time you said let's do this album until it
One
was
year.
released? 1 year. That's about right.
1 year. I did a soft debut of 2 songs from that album when I was in Los Angeles because I performed for a house party in Los Angeles for 50 people. That was the max,
Right.
seating. And I did a soft debut of 2 songs. And then I came back between my travels to India and between Nashville and all that. I recorded more songs.
So you're working on your next one now, I take it. Am I understanding that's what you're doing?
I am working on collaborations, and I'm also working on finishing an album that was supposed to come out before this album.
Hmm.
But because it took such a long time for them to lay the guitars, I decided to put it on hold and give this current album the time it needed to shine, so to speak. So the album that I was working on previous to this album is in the metal and rock genre. So it's got a little metal elements to it, but it's a lot of rock.
So you're going to have to send me a couple of the songs just so I can listen to them. You'll have to
When
do
I
that.
when it's released, yeah, we'll send it to you. That rock. those five songs I wrote. This one is Denise's songwriting. Yeah.
I just think it's intriguing to me, like what you do and how you do all this different music, and it's just you're still driven by the music in you. That's what drives you.
What I do is I just tell myself, just let it go. Once it's there, you've got it on record, let it go. Because if you keep thinking about it and wondering if you can do something better for it, you're never going to
You're
let it
never
go.
going to do
And
it.
yeah, so just do it.
So how are you supporting your album now? Getting more people to play it or
Um,
exposed to it?
well, I've been doing my own promotions, and we've also engaged a little bit of promotions from a company who does these things, who helps give it a push, like, stuff like that. So uh, that's about it. That's about it.
Are you
I
still?
find it's not easy getting people to play your songs on radio, especially if it's jazz, because
Mhm.
you either jazz, but jazz pop is like what's this, like, so you're most probably going to go into pop
Yeah.
the pop segment of the show rather than jazz. So that's the only thing.
I still think that jazz is fairly well received over in Europe. I mean, I think
It
there's some,
is.
you
I
know,
think it's just a process. I've just got to be patient uh, to allow people to let it grow on people, because the album itself is not today. It's very uh 50s, 60s. It encapsulates that that point in time. So I love listening to music from that time, and I wanted to evoke the emotions that when I listen to songs by Ella, or I listen songs by even Frank Sinatra, it feels like you're sitting in the living room with your family after dinner. You just watched I don't know, the Ed Sullivan Show or whatever, or a rerun of what's that? What's that show? Bonanza
oh yeah,
or
Bonanza.
something.
Yeah.
And then you got this song playing in the background. Everybody's just chilling out. You don't have, there's not much to think about. There's no worries at all. You don't think about, I got to pay the bills. I got to do this. I got to do that. The car needs repairing. This. You just you. I wanted it to be like a kind of a time capsule.
Thank you so much. I mean, love
Thank you for
to
reaching out. Thank you for reaching out. Really, I
be-
enjoyed this conversation.
One and one is always two. It's very simple. It's always you. Sometimes my eyes may wander, my gaze may stray and linger longer, but always what I really want to see is your loving eyes looking back at me. It's nothing new, it's what we do. It's always you. Someone may smile and flatter me, kind words, talk and sincerity, but always I feel you very near where I am. Soon you'll be standing here. It's nothing new, it's what we do. It's always you. We step as one as we climb the ladder. Yesterday and today and forever after, we're always me, and we're always you. Eternally, that's what we do. It's always you. Some say my sultry song intrigues. They believe what they want to see, but always it's not just about me. They create their own fantasy. It's nothing new, it's what we do. It's always you. It's what we do. It's always you. One and one is always two. It's very simple. It's always you.
Well, that's it for this episode of The Trout Show. Thanks so much for listening. Special thanks to Lyia Meta for coming on the show and talking about her great music that she does. For more information about Lyia, just go to her website, Lyia Meta, that's LYIAMETA.com, LYIAMETA.com. Also, a great thanks to Eric Feinlaw for supporting this channel. Thanks, Eric. And for more information about The Trout Show, you can always visit our website at thetroutshow.com. It tells you everything you need to know about our YouTube channel and our podcasts and everything else. So once again, thanks for listening. See you next time on The Trout Show. And remember what I always say, it's only rock and roll, but I love it. See ya.